Hello, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. This Fireside Chat will be about one of the most highly anticipated technologies in the space, I think. Definitely in the Bitcoin space, but as such in the blockchain space as well, which is the Lightning Network. My name is Adam van Wirdum. I'm the technical editor at Bitcoin Magazine, and with me is Elizabeth Stark. She's the founder and CEO of Lightning Labs and long-time community member of in the Bitcoin world. First of all, Elizabeth, so thanks for being here. What is the Lightning Network, and why does it matter?
Thanks, Aaron. Great to be here. And by the way, what Aaron will not tell you, he's actually the best technical writer in all of Bitcoin. So thank you for all your work.
Thanks.
There are many articles that Aaron has written that I've sent to many people about Lightning and beyond, Schnorr signatures, multi-sig, things like that. So I'm CEO and co-founder of a startup called Lightning Labs. We're building technology called the Lightning Network. How many people here have heard of Lightning or Lightning Network? OK, nice. How many people here have used Lightning? Mainnet Lightning. All right, cool. So we have some enthusiasts in the room. So Lightning is a software layer on top of Bitcoin, and we also support Litecoin right now, that enables instant high-volume transactions. Turns out blockchains are inherently inefficient. So in order to enable transacting on a blockchain, you need global consensus amongst nodes on a chain. So imagine if in order to send an email, you had to, say, run a server that downloaded any email that anybody had ever sent in the world. That would be super inefficient, right? Blockchain full nodes, Bitcoin full nodes, work that way. And we need a good number of these nodes to ensure the security of the network. As a result, that is inefficient. So right now, we have maybe 5 to 10 transactions per second as throughput on Bitcoin. We also have the 10-minute block time on average, not always 10 minutes. And then, of course, there was the whole fee spike at the end of 2017. Fees went up. There were a lot of debates as to whether it was caused by spam or whatnot. But fees on the blockchain, some people anticipate, will go up in the future. And the reason why we have those fees is to incentivize miners to keep on mining, especially as the Bitcoin block reward goes down. So what Lightning does is it creates a software layer on top of Bitcoin. It enables a local consensus between participants. Everything is secured by the underlying chain, and participants use the blockchain as an on and off ramp onto Lightning. So you need one on-chain transaction to get onto Lightning to open what we call a payment channel, and one to get off. So for example, you have to wait about 10 minutes to get onto Lightning. Now once you're on Lightning, you can transact instantly at a very high volume, and we're talking many thousands of transactions per second. In fact, my co-founder did tests, Lalu, roast beef on the internet, of thousands of transactions many months ago, and we can go quite a bit higher than that. The fees are extremely low, in some cases 0, but it can be 1 Satoshi, so a very, very small amount, at 7,000ths of a cent. And then you have the speed and high volume. So if you think of Bitcoin as a decentralized savings account, Lightning would be like your decentralized checking account with instant transactions. So you can send to any participants on the Lightning Network. Could be kind of like a Visa transaction layer, for Bitcoin. And then also, one of the key elements is it's a peer-to-peer network. So I might open a payment channel, with Aaron, and Aaron might have one open with David. And if I want to pay David, I can actually route through Aaron. So if you think of the way that packets work on the internet, similarly, you can route on Lightning to participants. And the goal is to be able to get to anybody that's on the network.
Right. And do you want to get into what is Lightning Labs? You're the CEO of Lightning Labs, so that means you're the CEO of the Lightning Network, right?
So no, I am not. So there was a big joke on that. I'm not CEO of the Lightning Network. In fact, we are all CEO of the Lightning Network, except for Craig Wright. But I'm CEO of a startup. We're called Lightning Labs, and we are one of multiple companies building a protocol implementation of the Lightning Network. So for example, we heard earlier, I believe, from Samson Mao. He's with Blockstream. They have an implementation. There's a company out of France called Async. They're building one. There's also a Japanese company that's gotten involved. So it's an open protocol. There's a collaborative process. There's a specification between participants where it's very hard to get Bitcoin developers to agree on anything. But we actually all were able to agree on a specification for Lightning, so it's interoperable. So there are these 3 major implementations that all talk to each other right now. So as for our company, we're a pretty small startup. We're 9 people. It's funny because sometimes people think like, wait, the Lightning Network's so huge, so few people are working on it. In fact, there are about 8 full-time developers across implementations working on the Lightning Network right now. We are hiring. We are hiring for protocol developers. And we're distributed. So we have some people here in the Bay Area. We have folks in Europe. We'll hire people anywhere in the world. We don't care what degree you have or where you're from. In fact, we've actually hired quite a few people. They just come on to our GitHub. They start contributing code. And turns out their contributions are good. So we were able to bring them on board, which is great.
So the Lightning Network white paper, which you, I think, sort of helped author, that describes the Lightning Network as a micropayment solution. But I think we're sort of discovering that it may even be bigger than that, or the potential may be bigger than that. Like it's a new, the Lightning Network is right now enabling apps that aren't really possible with Bitcoin itself. Would you like to talk more about that?
Yeah, so one thing that I think people missed is that it's actually really hard to develop applications on Bitcoin. You have, the 10-minute block time, you have these transaction limitations, Bitcoin script is not very easy to use. Lightning makes it way, way simpler. So you have the benefit of instant transacting, the scalability, the fee issues. For example, LND is our Lightning implementation, and we have a REST API and our gRPC interface. So one thing that we've actually seen this year, and this year, by the way, it's been a wild ride in this whole industry and in this community. A year ago, nobody even knew about this stuff or cared, and the price of Bitcoin shot way up, then went back down. Although it's still quite a bit higher than it was a year ago. But we've seen a huge amount of enthusiasm for building on top of Lightning, which is building on Bitcoin, because when you're using Lightning on Bitcoin, you're sending real Bitcoin transactions. So we've seen a whole lot of apps that developers have built. For example, how many people here have heard of Satoshi's Place? Anybody? There was this website called $1 Million Homepage back in the day. I don't know if folks remember that, where you could pay per pixel and people put up ads and links and whatnot. So, and then Reddit did this thing called Our Place, where I believe every certain amount of time you could paint 1 pixel, and they had to work together as a community to make designs. So in this case, you could actually pay 1 Satoshi, so 7,000ths of a cent, to paint a pixel. And it went viral. And it was the first real use case where people saw that, hey, Lightning works. It turns out, even though a Satoshi is the lowest denomination on the Bitcoin chain, you can't just send 1 Satoshi because the dust limit, is called on Bitcoin, is above 500 Satoshis. So you actually just can't do micropayments on the Bitcoin chain, and it's not really economically sustainable. But with Lightning, you could. So, of course, hilarity ensued. It was not entirely safe for work for a while. My image was up there.
You were on there for a while.
I was up there. People were defacing my image, and then very loyal friends were then replacing my image and guarding it. So,
yeah, it was a Protect Elizabeth Stark mission going on there.
That. No, but so my reaction to this was, first of all, keep Bitcoin weird. But even if this sounds silly, it was really the first killer application on top of Lightning, because people were using wallets. They saw that it worked, and they saw that here was a use case that hadn't really been possible in the past. To get to your question about, is this just about micropayments? No. When we first released, so my company, Lightning Labs, we released our mainnet beta. So in January 2017, we did an alpha. And people tested it with testnet Bitcoin, so fake Bitcoin. So we had a community of developers, and they were testing and building. So this March was a big milestone for us, because we released the mainnet beta of our Lightning implementation. It was the first mainnet beta out there. Others soon followed. And we finally said, OK, we think this is safe enough to use with real Bitcoin. And that's a big deal, because we are in a security-conscious industry, right? So you need to be paranoid to operate in this space, right? So, but we cautioned people. We said, look, this is beta software. Don't put more money on there than you can afford to lose. You're still testing. So if anything, it's really been amazing to see how things have evolved from March until now. And for example, there are these explorers, and you can look at maps of all the Lightning nodes that are out there, so individuals will run nodes. We intentionally kept it such that it's largely the developer community and enthusiasts. Right now, we have mobile applications coming soon, but right now it's kind of the hardcore users. But right now, I believe there are several thousand nodes online, and it's $680,000 on Lightning right now, which frankly I think is a little too high. We wanted to stay in testing. There is one person who put $350,000 on recently to test, and we were like, we don't know if you should put that much on there. But it's Bitcoin, and people will, we call it reckless. That one is definitely a reckless move. So in the future, though, I believe there are a lot of potential use cases. For example, you could use HSMs, hardware security module type technology, engaging with exchanges. We've been talking to quite a few exchanges that are very interested in Lightning integration to enable instant deposits and withdrawals. So this past November, we demoed the first ever cross-chain swap. So an instant transaction between Bitcoin and Litecoin using Lightning. So what that meant was you were off the blockchain and you were able to do a transaction, effectively a trade between these two currencies, and you didn't have to use an exchange. So I'm really excited about that. In the future, I think we'll see a lot of these financial and trading use cases. You could build financial instruments and the like. But right now, we're in the early days, right? We're in the 1995, if you will, of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and it's been amazing to see it evolve, but we have a lot left to build. And one of the things I'm really passionate about as well is usability. And how many people here have ever found it easy to use Bitcoin? Right? Exactly, like I haven't. So one thing that we're really working on with Lightning and with Lightning Labs is to improve the usability and make things easier to use as well.
Yeah, and I think a big improvement you're working on is also to make it more seamless, the experience more seamless between the on-chain Bitcoin experience and the Lightning experience, where if I'm only on-chain and you're on Lightning, I can still pay you and you can pay me, and we can interact with each other.
And by the way, to be clear, right now, if you're going to send $350,000, please do not do it on Lightning. Like, do that on the blockchain, and you can wait. There's better security right now, and you can wait a little while and pay the fee.
Yeah, so I think LMD went into beta February?
March.
March. Okay, so what do you think are the most interesting lessons so far? What have we all been learning about how it's been developing? And
well, one thing is if you tell people not to put a lot of money, they'll still do it. But if anything, I've really been amazed with the enthusiasm, just the community. So, for example, for Lightning Labs, we have a Slack for our LND implementation, and we have like 2,400 people on there, and they just want to get involved. We have some members that every day, for example, a community member named Molly, she loves Lightning, and she tests the software every day, and she finds a bug, or she'll test interoperability between the implementations, the developer community, the way that it's evolved. For example, a few weeks ago, we were in Berlin for a Lightning Hack Day that was organized by the community, and there were over 100 developers from all over Europe that were there, and someone even, I think, flew in from Japan, and we were blown away by the enthusiasm, the knowledge, and the advanced questions that people were asking. So I think, if anything, I've been pleasantly surprised at the degree to which people have gotten excited, have gotten involved from the technical side, have started running nodes, have obviously tested and put money out there, and we're just at the beginning. Like, there's so much left to build. I mean, the Mainnet beta was the first step in a long series of steps, and we didn't release a UI intentionally because we didn't want to make it easy to use. So right now, for LND, it's command line only to use Lightning. So there are some other people that have released some mobile apps. We're working on one ourselves, a desktop. We actually did a preview yesterday, and a mobile app, but we're waiting for more infrastructure. For example, there's technology called watchtowers on Lightning that ensures that if you go offline, other parties can't cheat. And we want to build that out, especially because if your phone goes offline, you might be away, for like a week. So we want to ensure that that infrastructure is out there before people are using it in the mainstream.
You briefly mentioned that the Lightning Network is actually interoperable between, for example, Bitcoin and Litecoin. So you can, if I have a Bitcoin Lightning channel, and I can actually send it to you if you have a Litecoin Lightning channel, and that for me really sort of drove the point home that it is this extra layer which even exceeds the Bitcoin blockchain, and it's its own thing. And I'm wondering, in this world where blockchain is a big hype and upcoming technology that everyone's is talking about, what does that mean for Lightning? How do you? I'm curious how you see this. Is this something people should be building directly on, like forget about blockchain and just build on Lightning and build your company, your project on Lightning?
So first of all, I don't even really know what blockchain means anymore. In fact, a friend of mine joked it's actually just the internet. But I'm also a skeptic. I recently gave an interview where I said I believe in Bitcoin, not blockchain, because for a long time, for example, as a startup building on Bitcoin, people told us, why are you working on Bitcoin? Blockchain is the future. And I really believe there's significantly more to the technology than merely just a blockchain element. For example, with Bitcoin, you have the incentive mechanisms, you have proof of work. There are a variety of different elements that are important, public-private key cryptography, things like that. But in terms of Lightning, so we did a demo in November of this cross-chain swap, but that's still infrastructure that we're planning on building out. I even have a friend who's working on LND ETH, so a Lightning fork for Ethereum, and there are a variety of other currencies that have expressed interest as well. For example, Chia, Bram Cohen's new project, is, I believe, building in Lightning support from day one as well. So there's interest from a variety of other communities to build out Lightning support, and one of the reasons why I think they want to do this is not only for scalability, but also for the interoperability element as well, and the ability to, say, trade between currencies. Actually, right as I was about to get on stage, I got a message from an investor friend of mine, and she said, oh, I just met with somebody and they're building a Lightning startup. So it's really exciting to see there's now this emerging ecosystem of companies that are building on top of what we are building. And that's exciting. You have the developers doing it, you have startups starting out. Some people are suggesting, we should start funding these. So I think this is a big deal. My vision for Lightning is building out a new financial infrastructure. Now, we can have layers on top. For example, Bitcoin's layer 1, Lightning's layer 2. You can have layer 3 protocols. Those are things that we're potentially looking at in the future. Think of a contracting layer on top of it, or a high-frequency trading layer. Much like how the internet has layers, you have TCP/IP and HTTP, and you build on top of that. I believe Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can have the same architecture and will.
Right, so then you would have smart contracts that operate entirely off-chain, basically.
Exactly,
That's
so
the
you
idea.
have the high volume nature, you don't have the very high fees, but you can still rely on the security of the underlying blockchain.
Yes, and maybe also things like futures, assets, that...
Stay tuned.
Exactly. If people want to get involved, how do they do that? How do you get involved with Lightning?
Yeah, so we've been able to develop this amazing community of several thousand people, and this is one of the things that I really believe is unique about Bitcoin. It's like people are all over the world, they're operating under pseudonyms. So for Lightning Labs, one of our investors is Jack Dorsey, founder of Square and Twitter. And I interviewed him a few months ago on stage at the ConsenSys conference, and I know Jack has had a good amount of exposure to the Bitcoin community, and he was saying how much it reminded him of the early days of the internet and Usenet, and also how much excitement there was. And I know a lot of people, will talk about price, right? Like if you watch the news, there's always this price discussion. But from the developer side and from the side of what we're doing, we believe, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint, right? Like in terms of short-term price fluctuation, sure, that'll happen, but we're building this infrastructure for the long term. And we really have a community of people that believe in the long-term potential of this technology. And one of the interesting things that we've seen lately, some people have said it's a bear market, 7,500 at Bitcoin price. I don't think that's really a bear market, but there isn't as much crazy hype around the price. And I think that's actually really good and important for the developer and technical community, because what that means is it gets very distracting. Like December 2017 was a very distracting month for many of us. If people remember, it was like holidays or family, they're all asking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the 8th most searched term on Wikipedia. Lots of things are going on. So I like the period of relative quiet and calm because there's so much crucial infrastructure that needs to be built out. And I think a lot of people, in many ways, are trying to sell things too soon. We know from the scalability side what needs to be done. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of other things that need to be done on scalability, not just Lightning. But this just takes time to build out. And we're working as fast as we can. We're hiring. We're expanding. But it's going to be a while still. Like the internet wasn't built in a day, and Lightning won't be built in a day either.
Right. I think we're almost through our time. Is there anything you would like to add as a final thought?
Yeah, so I would just say that I think it's really important. So for example, when I was first starting Lightning Labs back in 2015, 2016, I remember we spoke to some folks from larger corporations, and they quite literally told us that we were insane. They said, we can't believe what we're doing. We think Bitcoin is crazy, and we think Lightning is even crazier. And I would say do not discount the power of this technology. It may seem crazy today, but I really believe that this is what is going to change the way that we transact on the internet tomorrow.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Elizabeth.